Oh, I don't know. I have to ask her. Ada,
Yeah,
it's either Ada or Ida. I don't know her. Radosevich.
Oh,
yeah,
I don't know
I don't know her either.
which
Has
means.
she been to any meeting?
yeah, the December. The very first one, she was on the Zoom one.
Okay. All right. So we still don't have it. Okay. Well, why don't we could just start, because we have some things we can do. And then if Kylie isn't on yet, we have a lot to discuss, other than that. So good evening, everybody. Why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves, in case there is anybody on Zoom, but for one another and for our guest here. I'm Sheila Amder and I chair the committee.
I'm Mike Corsi. Vice Chair, I guess. Haven't had any duties as Vice Chair.
Sounds good.
Well, I was just looking.
I'm Paul Stern.
I'm Gina DeVivo Brassoff.
I'm Martina Wharton.
Dorothy DeVal.
Will be.
Okay, welcome. And Kylie, I think, is just
Okay.
coming in. So you got the minutes of the last meeting. Is there any additions or corrections?
And then I need they be approved.
All, okay, Gina has seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes are passed. And Martina, welcome. Martina, nice to see you again. And was there something you'd like to talk to us about?
No, I'm sitting on the Commission on Aging and I'm
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, terrific.
Vice Chair of the Commission on Aging.
Okay,
Thought I'd come see what's going on.
okay,
Awesome.
that's
Welcome.
great. That's great.
They're all-
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Kylie, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, good. So why don't you talk about what you did with, how you came up with this, just with this prototype? If you want to.
Yeah, so the prototype came from the Fairfield application, and I went in and I fixed up some things to be more Mansfield. So of course,
Your speaker, or it's hard to,
We might be able to.
wait, well, let's just,
Here too.
okay, let's,
Okay, there we go.
okay,
is that better?
Oh, yes.
a little bit,
Okay. Yeah, so I got from the Fairfield housing application that's already available, and I just changed it up to be more Mansfield centric. So such as adding in Jen's name to be the point of contact. And I also created the income and rent limits for Mansfield using the same formula that they used. So that's where all those numbers came from.
okay, hi Jennifer. Jennifer's just joined the meeting.
Hello, sorry.
That's okay, we just, do you have one of these?
I did, yeah, I left a pile of.
Yeah, I got
stuff
it.
On the, oh, great, okay, and that, can I?
And we can't change the agenda, by the way.
Right, I know, yeah,
Okay, so I'm using the one that Dorothy sent out.
yeah, which is the same.
Oh, there's something added to it, though. You had added just
I added an attachment.
an attachment.
Yeah, so as long as we're talking about it under that
Okay.
heading, we can
Okay.
do it.
Good.
It's just, we can add attachments. We just can't say we're gonna talk about,
A new topic.
something else, but you can add attachments.
Okay. Okay, so please go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, this came from the Fairfield application that I found on their website. And then I went in and just created some more Mansfield centric. So adding in Jennifer's name into the point of contact, and then also just figuring out what the income limits were for one person, two person, etc. And then also the rent limits from studio to, I believe, 4-bedroom.
Yeah, could you all understand?
I could.
Okay.
Gonna question.
Yeah, so yes, and I was just gonna say, it just starts. So for us to keep in mind in terms of our own priorities, it starts here with purpose. Some of which may, the first sentence is really the purpose of the the trust fund, and that was Fairfield's wording. Some of ours would go back to the town housing plan.
Are you thinking introduction as purpose?
Well, I think that's what they're saying. It's what is this?
Oh, yeah, okay.
To
yeah,
help
right.
preserve, create, okay.
I was
what it
looking for
says.
purpose to.
Yeah.
No, okay. And it says basically what funds can be used for. I'm just trying to say in terms of our thinking about it. And then, goes into some more other detail about the use of funding. All right, so you want to just, Paul, I'll take your question just a second. You want to just talk a bit about the, Kylie, you have the Mansfield income limits. What did you base that on? What is
So
it?
I based that off of how Fairfield came to their data as well as I compared it throughout the state. So what I did was I actually went into the sheets because there's no set formula to go off to. And I had to figure out the formula myself. And then I applied it to all of them, double checked everything. So that it should all be as accurate as we can get for the Mansfield area.
But is that based upon the average medium income in
Mhm.
Collin County or Hartford County?
For us, the one that we came up with for us.
Collin County.
So basically you took 30%. How did you, yeah, what's
Isn't there a
the,
complicated formula?
yeah, what's the formula?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that they do it, they don't do it at quite 30%. That's what I initially thought. But the way that they come to it, because I was comparing it with Fairfield's data, and yeah, they have sort of a different formula with it. So I pretty much just took what they did. I figured out the numbers from that, and then I moved it on to the Mansfield data.
And is this an Excel spreadsheet in here, or is this, because we'll want to have that formula for.
Right,
moving
right.
forward.
Yeah, no, that's on my computer, so I'll be able to get that
Yeah.
for you easily. But yeah, there is no set formula because I initially thought again that it was gonna be a 30%, but apparently it's not the 30% how they come to it. It's sort of like a different formula. So I pretty much had to figure out the differences between all the data and then figure out our data from that.
All right, so this
So
is prototype.
took me it took me a few hours, but it was worth it.
Okay, and the fair market rents,
Yeah, that was the same thing where I had to come up with all that data and sort of figure it out for myself.
all right. Well, Jennifer should get the information and,
Yeah.
so, but this is one of the things, so don't anyone take this as written in stone. This is an example
Yeah.
of what we would be.
These numbers are gonna have to be adjusted.
Yeah, this is just a good rough estimate as to what our data would look like what our amounts would look like. It's not the exact numbers, but it's as close as we can get without like actually going to the state.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Well, my big concern was that we use a number scale that is realistic, because it's gonna, some of the preliminary looking that I've been doing is that some of the numbers don't make any sense at all in terms of the actual real market. Like in one case, it seemed like the state's 80% affordable rate was higher than some market rates. And then
Yeah,
I don't know, it's very confusing, and I'm concerned that we have a realistic and useful scale so that people who really need the help can get the help. But
yeah, I
in the state statutes somewhere, isn't there a formula?
Well, I think, go ahead, Jennifer.
I don't know if there's a formula for calculating, I mean, there's the definition of
Of
what,
affordable rents.
yes.
in the state statute, the definition of affordable housing is when you're not spending
More than 30.
more than 30%.
Right.
And that includes like everything, your utilities, it's not just
Yes.
rent and mortgage. it's
Are you sure
everything.
that includes? everything?
Yeah, that's why it's not as simple to get the numbers, because you can't just take the median income, divide by 12 and then get 30% of that. You can't just do that with it. It has to be very like exact numbers. So again, I had to go into both Fairfield's numbers, how they got them, and then the state's numbers, figure out what number they were multiplying by to get the rental numbers and the income numbers. So that's how I had to come up with everything. So again, this is the closest rough estimate that we can get, but the state does not have anywhere where I can easily figure out this information. So it took me a little bit to do on my own.
I think this is great. I think, you know, from my perspective as staff, if I'm looking at how to like determine whether or not a rent is affordable, we're gonna want to know the formula, and then we'll probably want feedback from the housing authority and other folks. So I think for the purposes of this is excellent, and if you could give me like the Excel formula and how you created this, and we may need to, you know, tweak a little
There
for
are weird-
multiplier.
There are weird charts.
Yeah.
Depending on how many people are in the family that are making.
Yeah.
Right,
And then how many.
right. Well,
And
that's
it's-
just,
and they use HUD numbers. It's very
Yeah,
tricky.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reach out to the state and see what their formula is, because again, I had to just figure out what number they were multiplying all these by and then use it for us. So there's no like complex formula behind any of this. So that's why I'm curious as to what the state does and how they come up with these numbers. So I'm gonna have to reach out to HUD.
I think actually, before we do that, I think let's look to see what the housing authority is doing,
Yeah.
because they're gonna be using standard
Yeah,
definitions
real numbers.
related
Right.
to whether it's
but I think,
Malenko's estates or
I mean, I
the
think
new housing.
despite what these dollar amounts are you comfortable with the income, like 80%, 60%, like the top number? I think that obviously AMI is gonna change, right? So we'll,
Right.
but if you're, as long as you're comfortable with,
Well, I don't know about the
Category.
percentage. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
again, the categories, I think we'd also need to talk to the housing authority. Because I
think
really like to see what the standards are.
I think that's more categories than the state.
yeah.
They might use 80, 60, 50, 30. I'm not positive.
I think I've seen 30. somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Regardless, we should have them look. Give
Yes,
us
that's right.
feedback on the
Right.
whole application, and then if we could just get that formula at the top and
The Department of Housing has a page on their website. that have Rent and income guidelines for 2022. There are like 2 spreadsheets and there's a PDF that has income limit chart. There's a thing called a utility allowance that gets folded in after they determine some sort of a base number, then they tack on a little bit for utilities. It's really pretty complex.
Okay, so we have Kylie for another month and working with Jennifer, they might be able to come up with a,
So that's the action on the tables for them to,
yes, I don't want to work them out.
Make up some numbers.
So let's find out from the housing authority, and I think
That's it.
Yeah.
they would probably use the
I agree. I
DOH.
think if we could
standards.
match the levels that are there would be helpful to the town and to like the committee moving forward, right?
Yeah.
it would just tie it in,
Yeah.
Well,
because it's gonna be a
And it's
moving target. Yeah.
gonna prevent us from being challenged by around 5 people to do something.
Okay, so what other then we have the actual but I like the brevity. I like the fact that their application was fairly short.
I was thinking we should read through this and then work. Finalize it next meeting.
Why don't we have time to do all this by the next meeting? I don't know. And we haven't, the other thing is we haven't set, I think we have to set some priorities after we look through this, in terms of what we want to emphasize,
Right.
not just take what
Right.
Fairfield did.
Certainly.
Well, I mean, you can go page by page and mark it up and find the area where we want to challenge it or amend it or look at it more carefully and then.
You want to do that tonight
I don't know
or?
if we
I
have,
don't think,
I don't know if we haven't been able to study.
no,
it.
we haven't really
Yeah.
read it. I mean,
Maybe we could all agree.
it was too late to
come
get
The
it.
next meeting with.
Bring
our-
comments to the next
Markup.
meeting.
Or you could, if you want, you could email me your marked up comments and I can include them in the packet, but I would need them a week before,
Yeah.
about a weekish before.
Because I just see a couple things quickly that just don't comport with how we do business around here. One is that it talks about a 15-day turnaround.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't gonna happen.
So that's the action. Just to review and send.
Yeah, no,
comments to
and
Jennifer at
the
least
thing
so we
is, the
get it.
town of Mansfield and the affordable,
So if May 4th is the next meeting, that would put that to be like the week of the 24th of April 24th.
yeah. So, and actually would,
So April 24th is the Monday.
and the meeting's on the Thursday,
The meeting is the following Thursday.
the following Thursday. So as long as we get it by like Tuesday.
Yeah, so that would be the 25th. April
Yeah.
25th.
25th.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's not on here is, whether, we want to give. I mean, personally, I'd like to see us giving priorities, certain categories, like, age-related housing.
Mhm.
And priorities to age-related housing that is not at the high end of affordability, which is what all of these private apartments are, up to 80%, but is more in the middle range.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a not personal, but it's also a need.
Well, I wonder if we don't put our priorities in this, because the committee might change priorities as things, right? Like, the committee might want set priorities yearly. And
Yes,
so,
yes.
so we would leave, the application could stay generic, right? And then each year just.
Appendix A,
Yeah, which is, here are our priorities for this year, right? Because say like, we have 100 senior housing this year, and then next year, there's a need.
Oh,
for-
sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that it allows the committee some
But
flexibility.
developers have to know that. They have to
Yeah.
know this is what our priorities are
Yeah.
for this.
So
Yeah.
I did find a second application. It's out of Stanford. I just think, did I send that? I didn't.
Did
have
you
Kylie's.
did you look at Stanford, Kylie?
I don't think I had Kylie's. email.
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm over in the student center area, so I'm trying to keep myself muted so you guys don't have to hear everyone. Yes, so with Stanford, they really don't have a ton of information yet, just because they're still in the starting stages. So I don't have any of that information readily available.
They don't have a funded housing trust.
They
fund,
have
do
here it is, Stanford Affordable Housing Trust Fund application form.
Yeah, they have,
It's like, oh,
what I need to say is the fact that they don't have, like, they're establishing the fund and everything, but still, from what my research has been, not a lot has been done in regards to actually like building and creating affordable housing.
That's a pretty long application.
Yeah.
For goodness.
that's because it's on my phone.
Well, I think, why don't you send Jennifer the link and we can take a look at it. There is an actual application, Kylie. That's what he's saying.
Okay,
I skimmed through it. I didn't look at it too carefully.
No, it's
but I
okay.
looked
That's
through it.
okay.
Seems to me like our criteria for weighing the value of these applications, maybe ought to be a separate document completely. I mean, it's almost sort of like, we have to have some sort of objective standard by which we rate these things, or else we're going to be subject to criticism that we're being arbitrary or whatever. So we probably
Well,
got
that's
to,
what I was just saying, and it'd be like.
Yeah.
appendix.
yeah, well, we've got to articulate an action, what not only our priorities, but our standards, if you will.
Well, we can do it in review criteria and, and if, I don't know whether we would accept all of their review criteria that are here, but we could add to it. And priority consideration to projects as outlined in Appendix A or something.
I keep going back to this because this is where I started my career, but we did, I have been working for the town to acquire open space. And while the criteria will be completely different, they're broad and flexible criteria so that you can sort of, and they have to be approved by the town council. So you can just, you're not just, you can respond to the market and you have flexibility, but yet you can justify why you're using the funds. So so that, and it helps us, you know, obviously we have to have that. So when the person next door to you is developing their property and they call you inevitably and say, we need to buy this for open space. So it's sort of something, you know, we want something that's detailed, but also flexible. I think.
Right, right.
And if you go to I can send those out, just not that they relate to affordable housing, but just see how you understand the flexibility.
Gotcha. That'd be great. And it's called, what are you looking
It's the appendix C of the plan of conservation and development.
Okay. Just. I'm wondering if we should have a special work session just related to this, because I think it's pretty much in depth, and we've been trying to keep these meetings to an hour and a half or so. And I don't know if people would be willing to do that. I mean, all of our meetings have to be public, so
Yeah.
we're going to talk about some of that too here.
It feels like a workshop. It feels like it needs a workshop.
Yes,
when we use that
yes.
term for- So you can like pick at it.
Do we want to do that? Want to set a date for a special work session
Can we do that?
It's an
before you get
important
on
document.
the, before you get on
Gotta
the
be
cruise
put
ship?
My bus, man.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Jennifer?
Yeah. Of
Yeah, we can
course,
set a
yeah.
special meeting.
Just
You can
has to
have-
be
You can have a
advertised.
special meeting anytime you want.
Yes, yeah,
You just have to make sure people are, or you should make sure people are available, and then you just have to post it.
You wanna do next Thursday?
oh, no, I can't,
Oh, not next.
no, not
Thursday.
next week or the week after, I've got Passover up the kazoo. I do, I've got Passover up the kazoo. Doing a big thing at my temple, I'm having my kids all next week, and I don't know.
Love your terminal.
New format for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how about April 20th?
have a super aid too.
Now, this is something that, so you are always welcome to have a meeting. I do not, because staff support gets to be challenging.
Right.
I do not have to be at that meeting as long as someone volunteers to take the minutes. And the minutes can be just as simple as like,
We worked on this and.
yeah, we will forward the comments to the overall
Right.
committee. Began at 6:01 and
Yep.
ended at 8:05.
Yeah, I'm
or
pretty good
whatever.
We can do that.
if I have it on my computer, pretty good at recording some, right onto the document.
Yep, and I could, we're happy,
I'm used to
maybe
doing
Dorothy
that.
and I can work on like a template that, just so it's real easy. We take the agenda and you just take attendance, and then you send it on to staff
Yeah.
and post it.
And as long as I have the document in a Word document, I can
Yeah,
easily work. I'm used to running a meeting and taking minutes and making annotations, so. That's what you get with high school with speed typing.
When do you leave on your trip?
The end of May, the last day.
Okay, all right. So what about
The last week in
April?
April. and that fall.
April 20th is what Gina
It's a
said.
Thursday.
That works.
What day is
What
that?
time?
Does that work for
What do
you?
you got?
Same
You
time.
wanna do
I have my
that?
annual physical on.
When did you- What did you
Would
say?
April
5 o'clock
20th?
work?
5 o'clock will be fine,
Okay, so 5 o'clock on.
I'll do everything on one day.
Are you wanting, are they wanting to meet in this room? Because I don't know if this room is.
we're gonna,
available.
we'll have to
find
find
a
a
room,
room.
yeah.
Alright.
Okay,
5 o'clock.
yeah.
And, we'll be in.
Can you
touch
meet
to
at 4?
confirm.
Yeah,
Does anybody, you're working?
No, I just pick up my daughter right across the
Okay,
street.
all right.
at 4:15.
All right, not good,
I could
okay,
Make her walk over here, but
okay,
I could probably do 4:30,
okay.
or if it's 5 too late. is that-
Well,
5
what?
is good. I
5,
can
good,
come here
okay,
and 5 is
we'll do
good.
5, okay. Okay, so that's 20, okay, good.
And I guess what would be great is if even just to get us some sort of red line, and then we can type it in. And I'm envisioning this, we use this stuff we'll format it. We'll probably do like a form using our form software. That's just the sort of the text.
No,
Yeah, we can come up with an application. And when we're recommending, there's purpose here and who can apply, et cetera, criteria. But doesn't the council have to approve it? Yeah.
I mean, they should approve it. They don't necessarily, they're gonna have to approve everything that is spent. So I think they're gonna wanna approve it.
Right, okay.
Is there, generally speaking, there's nothing that we can do. They have to approve everything we do, right?
Yes,
So-
yeah,
Right,
your advisory,
Yeah,
you're their experts and most often they will take your advice, but yeah. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
yeah.
okay. All right, that's terrific. So Kylie, thank you. We may, you're gonna get the information to Jennifer on the formulas.
I'll send her over everything.
Okay,
question.
yeah.
We said we were gonna send comments to Jennifer a week before our next meeting. Does that action get?
Well,
killed, or-
no, it still works because if we get together and have a work session and we'll do all the annotations
And
and
one,
we'll send them,
We'll send one document. then.
we'll send them
oh,
the
that's even
document.
better.
No, because I can do that.
That's good.
As long as you're not all talking at once and we
Nope.
agreement, we can. I would also suggest that we look at the town's affordable housing plan too.
Yeah, you've got a lot of criteria in
Right.
there. That. And, yeah, the bottom line is it's really hard, as we learned last time, to build affordable housing if you're a nonprofit, and that's probably the type of thing you're gonna be funding. So I think when you're developing the application and the criteria, you want to allow for flexibility if something just
Yeah.
comes before you so that you can provide that gap financing or whatever.
Yeah.
And, with the understanding that senior housing below X% AMI is important to you.
Okay, and yeah, okay. All right, great. Okay, so I wanted, because we've all been really, everybody's been terrific. Everybody has gotten
This
very,
is an excited group.
yeah, it is an exciting group too. So we have to talk about communications between meetings. Do you want to talk a bit about that? I mean, it's,
Yeah, so just as a rule, and I think Gina's, I know everyone wants to work together, you want to get stuff done, you want to move forward, you want to see progress, but because this is an advisory committee, really everything should be coming through staff. And so the communications in between meetings, we have to keep them to a minimum because we're doing like the people's business. And we need to make sure that the people are available to see their business being conducted. That said, we do understand, you're not going to be taking action. And if you want to carpool to a meeting or whatever, and of course you're going to talk shop, but just sort of, I think it's also going to be best for the committee if I can get all this information and included as communications, and also the going back and forth and having a conversation. We don't want to have a meeting outside of a noticed meeting. You just have to be careful of that. So and so generally everything should come through me as a communication. I'm happy to share it out to the committee. Replying all is usually frowned upon, so things like that. But obviously if you want me to put it on the agenda under communication, or if you want to add something as an agenda item, Sheila as the chair and we discussed the agenda, and I can't imagine that she's
right.
yeah.
So, yeah, so anything, if we find some interesting article, we want to include it, it would go under communications and it would just be added. But I guess I wanted to just raise an issue because it seems to really, and you guys are on the Commission on Aging, so you deal with this. It would seem to me to it's a real handicap if we just can't, Michael goes to an interesting meeting and he says, this is really interesting and you might want to contact X, Y, and Z, and as with, you know, this, we'll talk about it, this council on housing equity and opportunity.
Yeah,
So he wrote up some notes and they're here.
Yeah,
They're going to
right.
be on here.
Yep.
But there has to be a way that we at least can, somebody can call me or they can, two people on the committee can talk and say, hey, this is really interesting.
and let's.
We didn't talk in the car on the way there.
They just have to march.
This is what I have to tell you. We
That's it.
understand you're not taking action. You have no authority to
Right.
spend the people's money.
Right,
You're just gonna make, but you just want to be careful that just, those are the general rules. Don't reply all, try to bring everything
Right.
towards, discuss it at the meeting. Don't make decisions outside of the meeting, but, you know, I,
Unfortunately, there are people out there who are looking for a little thing to shove down your throat.
yeah. So you just
So
want to make
very-
sure,
very careful.
you guys are doing good work and you want to make sure that people are supportive of it and you're allowed to continue that. So just, I always tell people to err on the side of caution, but I do understand that, we're
now
all
we
human.
can, this is, we're having a work session, but let's say we had a subcommittee of the group that was working on a particular issue.
Yep.
And as long as it's posted, as I understand from Jennifer, we just would ask Dorothy, just post it. And anybody, the public can know they can attend, and it can be that we take minutes based upon X was
Yeah,
discussed.
it's not just
and
posted.
no
though.
action was taken.
We have to post, it just
And
so
who's
you know,
there?
there's 48 hours, there's different
Is
meetings.
that- Okay.
So we have to do 48 hours before a meeting.
Public notice.
Public
Time
notice,
right?
it has to be, it takes time, we have to put it on our website, has to be stamped by the clerk, so there's just like some procedures that does, if you're having a meeting all the time, in my department, we staff 9 committees, so it's a lot.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, the unfortunate thing is if we're gonna funnel everything through you, and we could overwhelm you. I mean, there's not just
Right.
us, but all the other meetings and everything you deal with. I'm reluctant to just keep bombing you with.
Yeah.
I
Stuff.
agree.
Yeah.
I-
So,
Well, that's why I've tried to
so
fit some of that.
well, I think let's just come up with some examples and we'll just try to work through this in a reasonable way. And I will talk to Sarah Ann, who is the town clerk and who is like the keeper of everything FOI. And there was recently an hour-long FOI workshop that I don't know if any of you went to it, but
Yeah, I
it's,
went.
it is,
Couple of them.
it's on video. So if like you're folding
Yeah.
laundry
Yeah, Tom.
and you want to stream it, you
Yeah.
can do that, and then you can learn about FOI and
Yeah, we don't have there's certain circumstances where as long as we don't have a quorum, as long as we're not taking any action and making
the
any
quorum
decision.
thing is, I know,
you know,
that's, people have varying opinions.
Yeah.
Who went to that FOI?
I-
You did, and
well, I've been working with the FOI.
I'm
for
sure you
the
have,
last
yeah.
25 years, so,
yeah,
I know that there's some things you can do sort of in small groups that don't necessarily get you into trouble. I mean,
Right.
We can't have a caucus.
legally. Well, that's it. We
So
can't
like,
call
when
it
I
a caucus.
parties you are.
copied Sheila, because I thought we had to copy Sheila.
She copied me, I sent it to me, I can
So I
send that,
sent it
yeah.
to you and then I copied her because I.
Yeah,
assumed as the
that's
chair,
fine,
right?
as long as she's not replying all,
Oh my
it's
God.
okay.
No,
I just sent them to her.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, and so I guess the big thing is don't reply all and try to keep the chatter outside of the meeting to a minimum. Understand that you're doing the people's business and everything has to be open and transparent, and just keep that, in the back of your head, but also, you gotta get, you guys want to do work and you're doing good work, so.
What can I report at the Commission on Aging and not? This is the
You
whole
could
thing.
report anything on the Commission of Aging.
I had a
meeting.
report at our last meeting.
Oh, no, of course you can report anything.
Oh, anything, yeah,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, I
Yeah.
don't want to get caught in the
No,
middle.
no,
no.
Because maybe this will help us. I'm just thinking about how you both did the notes,
Mhm.
right, from the.
All
meeting,
did
but-
them, actually. I didn't do
Oh,
anything.
but I wonder
I
if we
reviewed them.
have a- I wonder if we
reviewed
have a standing bullet on our agenda that says like housing facts or
Reports.
information, housing reports or information to share,
Absolutely.
right?
No,
Like,
no, that could be a standing.
right? And like,
then we-
then I would have just been like, oh, I should print this and bring it to the next meeting as
Right.
opposed to like, I was like, Oh, I guess will you share this, right?
It's on here.
That's great. And also,
here.
I think people appreciate it when they can,
See the
see it
thing.
before.
And the
So
notes are here,
you
yeah.
can just
Yeah.
flip things, if you, sometimes it's hard when I'm getting stuff all month.
Yeah,
So like if
well, that
we're,
would help.
and if we're getting it like the week before, like these are the items we'd like to see on the agenda, then we can catch it. You know, like say that Monday or Tuesday before is when Dorothy, when do you like to have? She's
It's gotta
very
be up,
proactive.
right, well, now we're Thursday.
Yeah, it's
So
the Friday work.
I know that.
Which is actually good if you can have it all out there on a Thursday, we've got the whole weekend and a Monday to look at it before we come.
Well,
to the
wouldn't it
meeting.
be, I mean,
well, we're
I'm,
Thursday now, right? We're not
Yeah,
Tuesday anymore.
Thursday now, yep.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm happy to have things. I mean, I had always suggested to people, CC, Jennifer, but,
Do you want to, if people send things to Sheila,
yeah,
then,
I
but you're
can,
not replying all,
no,
and then Sheila says, put A, B, C, D
Right.
at one
Right.
interface with
Right.
staff.
right,
Yeah, so we have
that would help, I can,
You
yeah.
can see the conduit.
Okay.
Regular meeting, we have to be.
48
40
hours and special meetings 24.
So what's the procedure? We're
So 40
sending,
it is.
Yeah,
So-
so you see something interesting and you want to share,
Right.
you would say, hey, Sheila, add this to the next agenda.
Well, or just, share this with the committee under
Yeah.
communications.
Mhm.
I just, I'm gonna be really tight about the agenda
Yeah,
because of, we've got to stay very focused. I want to talk about that later because,
that will help us though. I think.
So I
yeah.
think it's Monday, is it Monday,
So Mondays.
or wait, no, it would be.
Well, we'd have to post it by Tuesday at 5.
Well, so why don't we say the
Thursday
Friday
night.
before the Friday before the next meeting, and that gives you,
Well, we're on a 4-day work week,
Yeah.
so.
oh, you are,
yeah,
you're
so
not
Thursday,
Friday.
like Thursday at like noon would be great.
Okay,
If you can't, we can always post it on a Monday.
Yeah.
But we'll plan to post the agendas either Thursday or Monday.
And the Thursday is very helpful because then we can, for another reason I'd like to bring up. One of the things we talked about in the car on the way back and forth was that it would really help if the public had more information about affordable housing and about our
yeah.
efforts to promote affordable housing. And if we actually write reports, even if they're small, and put them on the agenda, they're in public view. They're right there where anyone who's interested
so
can
it's
go and look at them
basically
and read and see what
the
I
issue
have an
of,
idea about that,
public
actually.
outreach. Right.
That, first of all, there are 2 venues for you. If you wanted to write a snippet, we have our, the town newsletter that's every other month. And you could have an affordable housing, like I think Ginny Walton has some of her committees. There could be an affordable housing report. It has to be, like 100 word, something short. And also the town, I'm always looking for content because every 2 weeks, the town manager says, what do you have for the town manager report? So, and I send them, there's a lot going on, but if the town council would love to have a report from you all. So if you wanna, like once a month, give me, or bi-monthly, give just for the newsletter. The newsletter, if you even wanna write something, I have 2 days where I could get something to Margaret, to include in the newsletter, like what you're up to, but
This week,
this week, yeah, and the next one will be,
When
it's
do you need it?
April. I would need it like tomorrow to give to her, and it would be an affordable housing report, but the next newsletter. So April and then June, and we would need it like 2 weeks before, like we would need it May 15th.
So you said there's 2, so there's.
The town manager's report is every town council agenda. The town manager does a report and he likes to have something from each department. And if there's something from a committee, they would love that. So you wouldn't be able to do one twice a month because you only meet once a month, but
all right, I think I can do it
Working
tomorrow.
on the
yeah.
criteria.
And and eventually you're gonna have to come to the town council and do a presentation, because that's in your charge that you have to do an annual presentation to the town council. And that's,
Well,
Yeah, before you know
and if we do these regularly, then that we've just sort of made a roadmap for what our presentation's gonna be.
Yes.
We've done all the thinking already.
So
Yeah.
if you look at last night's town council meeting, I thought the Economic Development Commission did a great job. They did their annual presentation because they have a budget actually that they asked for. So that they're good to kind of listen to how they do theirs, but they did a really nice job. Cynthia Van Zelm as their staff helped them a lot, but the chair and the vice chair sat right up there. They talked about the mission or the charge of the committee, what they've been working on, all the great things, and it's important, right? That's how you inform the
And they had
public.
slides and they had a whole
Yeah.
show.
Oh, you were. I'm sure.
Well-
I caught it on.
Yeah.
I'll get you something tomorrow. It won't have slides.
No, you don't, this doesn't have to have
Just-
slides. This is
a-
just a
This
paragraph.
will be this will be a synopsis of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The town has a newsletter.
Yes.
I don't get that.
I don't either.
I was like.
Oh, you don't? No.
So you have to sign up for it.
Actually,
And
I feel like I get so many random emails and I don't get that. Okay, so there's a town.
On the town
newsletter.
manager site?
We know what would be nice then, if we could build a sign up thing for people who are interested in affordable housing.
You can.
Information.
We can't.
you can.
Oh.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
And we, you know, that way, people who want to pay attention,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
push pieces out to them occasionally that
Yep.
when.
Well, how would we do a sign up where?
So we have a notify me and like if you, and
I
And I
get
can-
them for several committees.
yes,
That I
exactly.
don't know what.
Yeah, and people, it's underutilized, but so that's one thing. What you could do, you could have a monthly item for the town manager's report and push that out on notify me.
Yeah.
And include it in the, like, and put your 2 for the newsletter.
It would-
And
Well,
I don't know if this would be out of line, but you know, our little Mansfield, Connecticut connection thing. Could we put a notice on there that if you're interested in these things, here's a link to this, to the notify me sign up? Could we reach-
As a private
As a
citizen,
private
you
citizen.
can say, it's so underutilized that notify me, and you can. people
where do
will-
I find that? I don't even know.
Yeah, I get
I don't
road
know.
closures now. I get recycling.
Yeah, I get all
reports,
that,
I
yeah.
never just get. I sign-
Pre-emergent.
So it's on the website and it says sign up for notifications. And you click
Oh,
that
yes.
button and then like code red, that's a good
Oh,
one
you
to,
need to-
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm like, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've
Okay.
signed up for that. I get all this, I mean, the
So-
phone rings, the cell phone rings.
Yeah.
That's the people who
Yes.
are not supposed to be skating on Bicentennial Pond, but they
Yeah.
haven't taken that down. And then sign up for notifications. And then you click that. And then there's code red, which is a
Yeah.
good one to have. And then you go to notify me. Sorry, I'll show.
Oh, no, I have. Okay.
You know how to do it.
You've already got it.
And to sign up for note, you click here.
You can also do it by committee.
Yeah, and you can do things at the library, you can do things at the community center, and then when we're pushing things out, so agendas. So, and then I have to work on,
I can tell you though, about affordable housing, it's very frustrating. You worked for a while with our interfaith group, and we did our interfaith working group covering the region. And we did some really intensive public forums, and they were by Zoom because it was during the pandemic, on affordable housing. We had great speakers from all over. We contacted every town in the area. We contacted all the interest groups. We put stuff, was it stuff in the paper?
I was at
You
one.
might have come to one, and but the people that came are basically the people that were interested. We did not get, like town officials that we were hoping to get, not, you came, but we didn't, there were almost no members of the public that weren't already quite involved. And I get discouraged when I look at our Mansfield next door neighbor site, and if any of you are on that. I started posting something because they were talking about what's happening over here. They took down this house on Eagleville Road, and look at all the traffic there's going to be and all the dirt and the noise. And I wrote this long thing and somehow it disappeared. But nobody seemed to remember what that was. And so I'll have to go back and post. So it's paying, there's a lot of Because, most people lead their lives, right? They don't think about this
They
stuff.
don't.
So,
Right.
but if we can
You know,
pick up a
I-
few people.
I will err on the side of, I am someone right now in my life that doesn't show up to a lot of things. I do stay informed by seeing.
Yes,
these
you do, right.
notifications, Right, so, and a lot of my friends are doing that, so
Okay,
maybe it's like
good.
this middle age group where we're like thrown in 5 different directions, but so I think it's helpful, right?
Oh,
Like,
yes, we should. I'm not
So-
saying we shouldn't do
And I
this.
think probably doing multiple ways is the
And
way.
you could streamline it so that you have you're doing your once a month thing for the town manager. You're
yeah.
combining that into the newsletter posting. And every time you push something out to the town manager, you're pushing it out on Notify Me. And then you're kind of saying, hey, like, I don't know anything about affordable housing, well, go and sign up for the
Is
notification.
notify me in email?
You
Yes.
get an email,
So
yeah.
it can take links, it can take hot links.
So I
Uh,
by accident signed up for our committee, so like I got the agenda twice. I got it once from the Notify
really?
Me and then
Oh,
once
oh.
from, because I was like, oh, maybe this will help keep me informed.
I'm not sure what we can put on there, but I think it's fairly robust.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can embed links in it, then we
Oh,
can
yeah.
really use it as an educational
Yes, the
tool.
library
you
does
know.
that.
They do,
Here's
okay.
here's a news story you might be interested in, or here's whatever.
Well,
I get
I was
pictures from
wondering
the
about
library,
that.
just like
Yes.
They're known things.
I was wondering about that, about being able to post things that were just,
So I
News
will
items.
say, you can definitely do it, and luckily we have a journalist on the committee, but it takes a lot of time to do this, and I spend a lot of time encouraging the committees that I staff to do this, and then they don't give me the content, so it kind of,
Yeah.
but I think, and
but don't you
content,
have to screen everything?
I do have to screen
Right.
things, but content, people get used to getting it. It's like an Instagram post, you're supposed to
Yes.
post a certain amount of times, and otherwise people.
Being habitual
forget about-
helps
Yeah,
make it sink in somehow.
right, yeah, like they know it's coming from this or whatever.
Okay,
Oh,
Great
so that's what
suggestions.
this is, the town manager's report, is what you're saying we could?
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
so I do get
Does
it.
he print that? Is that published? Is that
No,
put
I
online?
did
You have to do notes.
I did notify me,
So,
so I
so-
actually get it and I don't read it because
Okay.
look how long it is.
But if it can take-
No, that's the thing.
If it can take-
I know.
if it can take hot links, that opens a window
Yeah,
for us.
see, so it has links in it,
Okay, that's-
like stores, farmers market, you can go right to the, learn
That's
more at.
Oh, okay, good. That's
Yeah.
good.
okay. We're moving on to, we'll do the first one tomorrow. I mean, I'll do the first one.
Sheila, I'd be happy to take on kind of writing them as we.
Ah,
I'd
great.
be okay with that.
right,
I've
do the summary,
done that,
okay.
yeah. So if you want to write the first one.
I'll
I
do
can
the right
really get
one,
a sense
okay,
of your
right.
voice and-
Okay. Thank you, Julie.
And like pretend like you're putting something in the Parks and Rec brochure, because that's what, it's amazing now that I'm over in this office, so. Have fun, fun and you gotta punch it up, and that's when people will read it.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, I do get this. I'm so
That
embarrassed.
is a little, yeah.
I can write ditties. I'm pretty good at that. Okay, so
We'll write it. in
we've
first.
talked, there've been a lot of interest, I think, in proposed legislation. And so I put this on here because our role in this is, again, to recommend to the council legislation that we think should be supported by the town. So I don't know if it's too late in the session or if there's it's probably not too late in the
It's
session.
not.
Because nothing is, the budget is usually the final decision of what they do.
So if you want the town to take a stand on a specific piece of legislation, obviously that you gotta present it to them and bring it to them at one of their meetings, and you can get on the agenda. They meet the second and fourth Monday. In order to get on the agenda, you do need to give them some lead time. So usually I work with Ryan and his assistant Sharon to put we do it the Monday before he creates the agenda, and he reviews it out with the mayor and the deputy mayor. So if you want something, it doesn't mean that you can't put it on if it's like, something that you need to act quickly on, but
I had asked, remember, for that link to be shared, it never was. The Partnership for Strong Communities. Did we share that?
Did we?
I don't
share
think we did.
On the,
I sent out what their, the link to their website.
I've seen it. I don't know where I got, I think I knew about it
What did
before.
you-
though.
You replied to the, which I think is what you were getting at. You replied to my email.
Oh, no, not,
But
wasn't
that's
just
when
a,
you said.
yeah, let's go to
Add
the,
this to the.
right,
agenda.
right, and let's send it out.
all right, so that's when we,
So
Okay.
that, when I'm getting it all
Just
month, yes, so that's
Okay.
my mistake, but we just need to keep it'd be great if you and I you kept a list and then. we
So now we're
went
just
through it.
gonna
Right.
send them. So now you could.
Uh,
add it to the
To
next.
Sheila, and then Sheila and Jen.
Yeah, yeah,
For the
just so,
agenda.
so the list doesn't get too long, because
Right.
I do
If
have
we're-
another life.
It might.
I know, it's hard, yeah.
So what is it that we want to do this year about legislation? All right,
Can I
Go
say two things?
sure, go ahead.
There are two big bills that have passed out of committee that are, one we've already talked about, the work ride live thing.
Mhm.
There's another one called Fair Share. And if we're going to make any kind of a recommendation about them, we're gonna have to do it before I guess these recommendations would go to like Greg Haddad or somebody like that, our own representatives, or
In
May
May,
Flexer.
right.
And the session is scheduled to adjourn on June 7th. That's not much time when you're talking about getting to the town council and moving ahead. So I don't know if that will inform what we're gonna do, but I guess it sounds like if we're gonna do anything, we need to do it quickly.
Gina?
My gut really says, I feel like we're fighting this tide of our town being developed, and I want our energies
Right,
back
that's
on
what I-
like focusing, I'm like, I want to make sure that our house is pretty,
Right,
right? So I almost feel like I want our energies focused there, right? Like just,
for this year, because
For
we're just
this
getting
year,
started and we're,
and to set our own criteria,
Right.
right? Because then we'd be
Right.
able to track and go out much easier in the
And
future.
we're all.
But I
free agents.
guess,
We have-
Yeah.
one thing there's a lot going on now, and I think it's important that everyone on the committee is aware of it, so.
Yeah.
You know, I've been just ignoring FOIA and just sending, hey, here's an article on this, and just sending it to Sheila and. Copying Jennifer, but. That stuff should go to the whole committee,
Yeah.
like what's going on in the
I made
state,
up a
there's
list
so
of-
much going
I
on.
keep a running list of housing news stories.
Yeah.
And on a Word document with hot links. And if the hot links will take people off of our agenda and into the netherworld, into the. Then it's not a big deal just to put on our agenda a list of news stories that are
Yes.
all relevant.
Right.
That's what I
that-
think we should
Can look
do.
at it.
I agree,
Because it would help all of us stay equally informed, and then anyone
Right.
else.
And the public, anybody on the public who cares.
well, and it's a changing, it
Mhm.
changes rapidly. I don't know that, well, let's see how
Just be
much of a
adding
list
the
it is.
links to
Right,
the
that's
end of
true.
it,
Okay, it
like-
could be under communication.
And then we say, everyone look this week, right? Like when you have time, make
Yeah.
sure to.
so that basically we're gonna append that to the
Agenda.
agenda,
It's just another communication. That's.
right?
Yeah, another way to share.
And there's
I
no,
call it my reading list. There's too much of it. Unfortunately.
so if we see things, should we send them to
You
you?
could do that. Yeah, send them to me and I'll just compile them into. a big
As long
lump
as
and
you're
I'll
not
send them.
replying all, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want
No,
to,
no.
send it to Paul if he's gonna be compiling it. Just don't reply all and start a
Right.
dialogue.
Well,
Just said that she would.
Yeah, so. if-
But
if
maybe
I
you-
can compile.
Well, you
it,
can-
or if you
right.
forward-
Send to
Right,
Sheila,
right.
okay.
And if you, yeah,
That's fine, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'm in the way of a lot of those stories all the time, so it's not a big deal for me to, collect them up.
all right, I don't know
I
what
have
it
a
was.
question.
Go ahead, Bill.
Would it be possible for us to get an email addresses of everybody on the commission?
No, then we'll use.
Well, you could, but
I
we
think
can't,
we
we
have
can't
them.
communicate. I think
You-
we-
No, just,
You
like
have
I
them,
said, I mean,
but-
You have them in the,
I don't have phones.
well, I
I'll
can,
send it to you.
I can give you a contact, I can give you names and addresses and phone numbers but I guess I just want you to be you know, everyone just be aware of what I just talked about.
I know, I mean, I've been,
Yeah.
I've been worried that the commissioner for years. I know what
Yeah.
not to do and
Yeah,
what to do.
yeah, so, but you're, yeah, absolutely, as long
It's just
as
that-
long as everyone is okay of me
If I
sharing
wanna
your
send
contact
something to Paul, I
information.
can't.
Yeah,
I don't know, Mike, I wanna send something, I can't.
right, so,
Sure as I got.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. And phone number.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Texting.
no, I'm very,
Yeah.
we're very familiar with. what's going on.
I'm sure
Okay.
you are.
Okay, now we have some,
Carpool.
we have some very weighty things here to discuss, so I'm gonna move us. Now, Paul spent some time looking at some thoughts and we sent it to all of you, so I really hope everybody had a chance to read it. Issues regarding we would maybe just put these in different order. The pay in lieu proposal Paul wrote was the first one, and then the housing, the bonus one. But did you get my email saying, could you
I did,
summarize?
I can summarize. In fact, I
Because
sort
I'm hoping everybody read this.
Yeah.
what's really got me the most concerned, and this is directly to your point, is that right now in the pipe, somewhere down on the horizon, on the near horizon, there are about, correct me if I'm wrong, 800 units of potentially proposed housing coming into Mansfield. Have I got the number wrong?
You might be even on the low side.
I think
Okay.
it's 1,200 that we can't even touch.
All right, well, that's the question.
No,
It's already gone through, it's approved.
no,
No, that's not the case.
no.
No,
So there is one approved project from a special permit, and that is the standard
Yeah.
that is under
Yeah.
construction
That's a
right
done
now,
deal.
right?
That,
The rest have gone through some sort of wetlands or pre-application. Now I'm gonna be getting some special, once they apply for their special permit through planning and zoning, you can't change the
Yeah.
rules on that.
Yeah, that's why I think time is of the essence on.
Yeah.
on
So,
this stuff.
right, so it is, yeah, but when you are, in order to change a regulation, the Planning and Zoning Commission has to write a memo, they have to get everyone on board with it. Then you have to schedule a public hearing, and you have to refer it out to like all the cogs and adjoining towns, and so that, and at minimum, it takes like 35 days. So you're looking at like 45 days before you could change regulation. So,
so I'm not, okay, we're not even talking about changing regulation. We're talking about Paul having an idea that he has developed that he wants to discuss. with
Well,
us.
that's where I'm headed with this, though,
Okay.
is I think there needs to be, let's call it not a moratorium on the pay and lieu system until we can get it adjusted to be actually useful for raising money.
so I will say
Okay,
that when we talked about this with our zoning consultants, we said we see all of these developments coming down the pipeline. We need to do something. What can we do? All of these developments they will have to go through a special permit process, which gives the Planning and Zoning Commission discretion on how they require that a developer meets these affordable housing requirements. So the Planning and Zoning Commission has made it abundantly clear
Right.
that they want the units on site. Now, there may be some instances where that's not appropriate, and so that's why they've left themselves an out. Now, the calculation, that formula that they're using, we need to look at it, and it may be that we change a decimal point so that we get a higher amount, but I do think they're gonna want to say that they want these units on site. But in some instances, they want to allow for a little bit of flexibility. That's what I've heard from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
right.
But they have made it abundantly clear to every developer that they want these on site. And the most recent special permit application, the attorney called me and he said, what's your feeling about fee in lieu? I said, it has to be on site.
Well,
So-
and if at the very least, I think we should be recommending to the PZC that it use the utmost discretion in actually applying the pay in lieu option.
And that,
So I have a question.
Oh, wait,
That
So
is
yours-
something you definitely could do to PCC as committee to committee, if that's what you want. And I do think that you have a very good point in that fee in lieu is, it's not enough money to create units. And
Well,
so,
it's enough though to leverage. It's a
It-
tremendous, you know.
yes, so it's enough to kind of provide some gap financing. So it is an important tool. I do think if the more we can get on site, the more bang for
Okay,
our buck.
so
we're
wait,
gonna
Paul,
get.
let's go ahead, Michael.
My question is whether the PZC has to approve the fee in lieu. So in other words, can a developer come in and say, I don't want to do any affordable housing,
No.
actually build it. I just want to pay this fee in lieu.
No,
And they can do that without the approval
No.
of the zoning.
No,
No.
they can't.
So the zoning commission has to approve the fee in lieu.
They have to meet the requirements in this Article 10, Section W. And there's a few ways to meet that requirement. Set aside, fee in lieu, purchasing
Public
properties.
amenities.
Is that,
Well, public amenities is for density bonus. You don't get
Oh, yeah,
affordable
yeah,
units.
is that this, what?
Right, but
Right, so-
the density.
Is
bonus
that
problem.
these, the alternate means of meeting affordable?
Yes, yeah.
And there's A, B, and C,
yeah,
and C is the fee. But
yes.
when I read this, it wasn't really clear that the commission has to approve it.
Well,
you
All
read
right.
what, Paul's proposal?
No, no,
Usually
no.
statute.
I'm reading
Oh,
it.
you're in the
Okay.
statute, I say, okay.
So I mean,
So-
to me, if it said, you know, these alternate means must be approved by the zoning commission right up top, A, B, or C must be approved.
Can I read that in, like, have a conversation? I don't want to
Yeah,
sound.
there's
obnoxious,
some
but yeah.
discretion, and then there's other things like
Yeah.
the impression where you
Because-
don't have any.
I mean, going back to an earlier
the-
point, you were saying flexibility, and I think we should build flexibility.
wait a minute.
into this.
Go ahead.
Even the formula, so this formula on the amount.
Okay, just a second. Will, go
When
ahead.
when
Try to
I
build
was doing
flexibility.
I was doing some hunting on the internet and everything else and with these in lieu fees. And I come up with one they call linkage fees. Anybody ever hear about that?
No, how's it work?
It says linkage fees, sometimes called impact fees, are an alternative to traditional inclusionary housing programs. They are called linkage fees because they attempt to link the production of market rate real estate to the production of affordable housing.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that, I
No,
think
go ahead.
that's what
Why
they
don't we
do.
finish reading
Okay.
it? Go ahead.
Okay, while the name is similar, linkage fees should not be confused with in lieu fees. In some states, communities can charge developers a fee for each square foot of new market construction and use the fund to pay for affordable housing. These programs are actually structured to require fees rather than units on site.
Right.
Initially, linkage
Ah.
fees were developed to apply to commercial projects and blah, 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 et cetera.
All right, so rather than projects on site. Okay, that's the key. Yes, go ahead.
So that is a little bit, it is, so, we have to look at that, but one of the impact fee is, Riley did research on one of the towns where for every building permit, they charge someone a fee. You know, and so that's also, that might be a linkage fee as well, I'm not sure.
I don't know, it says the advantages, linkage fees offer flexibility and can be used to leverage other sources of funding, which can result in a greater total number of new affordable units being built. Disadvantages, because land is likely to be more affordable and easier to obtain in low-income neighborhoods. I wish we don't have that here. Linkage fee program may generate fewer resources for affordable housing than traditional programs.
Is that you?
It was just something I just
went down the wrong.
Okay.
I just found.
Yeah, it's pretty fine distinction, that's why. I mean, we're collecting, we've got to fund this housing trust, and if a linkage fee is what you want to
Yeah.
call it, to get developers to pay in,
Yeah.
that's.
Well, but it said in lieu of having, units, basically.
So I guess my concern is that if we've
Oh,
got,
my.
we've got a finite amount of infrastructure, and we've got 1,000 units coming in to suck up that infrastructure. And when it's gone, we don't necessarily have a quick way to get more. And if we can get 100 units of affordable, even if it's 80% affordable out of the developers.
Well, I
then
think,
we're ahead of the game.
Michael, go ahead. I think,
No, I was just looking at this and it's, 5 says alternate means of meeting the affordable housing requirement. A says use of alternate means of compliance. Use of alternate means of compliance pursuant to this section shall be reviewed by the commission on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
Now, does that A apply to C, which is the fee in lieu? Or is A one thing, B is a second thing, and C is a third thing, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's just not clear, and I think it should be really spelled out, and we should build flexibility, and so that, I haven't written these, so I'm not a lawyer.
all right.
I don't know the legal stuff, but it seems to me in some cases, we're just gonna say, build the units. We're not interested in this fee.
And
In other cases, we're gonna say, yeah, we can,
Well, they might-
sacrifice some units and.
They
take
might
50
say
and look.
where the location is, it's not close to transportation,
Right.
it's going to
Right.
isolate people. And we would want the full fee.
So that's
My-
why my question was, whether a developer can say, no, we don't want to build
He
the
doesn't-
affordable
he
units, we're
can't.
just gonna pay the fee in lieu, or do they need,
They have to make the case. So,
okay,
and with every one of these, there's a public hearing, and that's where the Affordable Housing Committee comes in and you give your opinion on these. And I think you have a very supportive Planning and Zoning Commission at this time. That will listen to you. But so they are, there's a lot on everyone's plate, and they are committed to moving to looking at this fee in lieu. Right now, when we were talking with our consultant, we said, what we need to act quickly. And they said, deal with the percentage, everything that you're dealing with, it goes through a special permit. And with a special permit, you have discretion, you have it on the record that you want it on site. And it gives you a slight amount of flexibility. It is not a perfect answer there. I don't believe.
I just would make just one of my suggestions is I don't, Paul, from something you wrote here, I don't want to see us use this as a way to quickly get out of the 830G. I really don't, because it takes some pressure off the town, which I think really needs to be there in terms of the 10% of affordable units. The other point is that these units are going to be, they're not going to be cheap for people. I mean, they're going to be at 80% of the average medium income, which I think is actually based on Hartford. I don't think
Yeah,
it's
it is
based,
based on Hartford. and I bet
which
I
is
had
much-
Exact problem.
yeah, and I don't,
Because we're in the Hartford metro area. Even though we're in Talon County, it's a
Yes.
different, something.
but based on what? Why did we have to accept that?
I'm not
as a-
sure.
Could we find out? Because it really bothers me. It's significantly higher.
That-
In terms of, because when I looked at what they were showing as those rents in the standard application, they're very high.
It's a real problem. If you want, I did a little workup. I have copies. I calculated here. I calculated
Is
some
it-
numbers.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes,
Yeah, it's because it's not part of this.
and we're talking about this, so yes,
Can
you're
I
allowed
have
to do
one?
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
You have another one?
these numbers are hypothetical, so they're not carved in stone.
Oh, wait, you added this to your proposal?
Yeah, it's just stuck on the back.
All right.
It addresses the issues that I raised in the density thing and in the pay in lieu.
All right, so this is the, based upon the Hartford, yes.
Yeah, so I did a calculation
You
on
have really
a
been busy.
house, a 3-person household, using the numbers that I found online.
Another-
Oh, I'm sorry, here you go.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yes.
I pretty
We can
much,
share with.
that's good.
Okay.
To boil it down, this yellow box here shows what. What I was trying to show was that when a developer decides whether to pay a fee or to build a unit, they do the math. And they think, what's it gonna cost me to pay this fee versus the revenue that I'm gonna get from this unit? And over 40 years, the cost of having to build the unit and hold it at 80% or 60% of its rent is enormous.
right,
Whereas paying the fee, if you can, I use the rents that they charge at the Oaks, which is probably not a very good, and Meadowbrook Gardens and Renwood Estates, which actually came in lower than the affordable rates. But these numbers here show just like in theory, in absolute theory, Meadowbrook Gardens would have paid $15 million to compensate for one unit of over 40 years of the deed restriction. That's the big killer, is this deed restriction that holds their affordable status for 40 years is really expensive. So sure, of course, they're gonna pay us some
Right.
piddly little $1.5 million for and density bonuses for 44 units.
So it's a factor of 10.
Well,
Yeah.
except the only exception I would say to that is that for these developers, just as it was in downtown stores, they're also looking for a turnaround price. They may not plan to ever hold them for 40 years. They're looking for something that's highly profitable, which is going to be in the 350 units or whatever they have that are market rates. And how they, and what they're going to be able to sell that for at some point in the future.
But don't those deed
Um,
restrictions live with the property? For the
Well,
40
yeah,
Sure.
sure
They
they
do.
do,
They
but
have
it
to,
may
yeah.
be incidental is what I'm saying to their profit.
Well, yeah, I
margins.
mean, this assumes no rent increases or
Yeah,
anything.
this is,
Right.
so. The point that I was trying to make before is that it's really related to what is this requirement going to give us of requiring that, the 10%, now 15% of the units be at 80% of we gave them the upper amount of affordability. If it's based upon the Hartford medium income, and we're talking about very high, we're talking about high rents.
Yeah,
So I'd like to find out that first. Why do we have to use the Hartford metro area income limits? The second thing is, I think we should still require this of them. But I think planning and zoning needs flexibility so that they're looking at location of, where these are going to be. Who are they, who can really use them? I also have concerns about, and this is a little bit off the subject, but I also have concerns about how we're going to monitor this. I do not in any way trust the developers to be monitoring who is actually renting these apartments. To looking at the income limits, looking at who they're renting to. I don't know why that can't be, and maybe looking at somehow increasing that fee and including a contract with the housing authority. It's very
yeah.
accustomed to doing re-ups of income. I don't even know if we can require them to first make the offer to people on the housing authority waiting lists.
I'm not sure.
Well, and there's
Um,
this special permit that was approved on the Havens has some provisions about them having to market to least likely people to apply. And how are we gonna monitor that? I mean,
They have to submit something, yeah,
and then,
then we have to enforce it in our department.
okay, so your department's got, in theory, if we put enough, situations where you have to monitor, we could like burn down your department. I mean, you can put such a burden on you unless there was enough money generated to support more staff and
Right.
to police all this stuff.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Assuming we're gonna have a fee in lieu. How much flexibility can we build into the amount?
Not much.
Because now it's like super rigid. I mean,
It is
even
rigid.
It's A times B times C, B and C are the
Well, maybe,
construction cost. And then A is some percentage, and that number is actually spelled out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
3% or 4%. It's,
So
if
we
we
could
could
change
have more
we could change, the easiest
flexibility,
thing to do from writing these things would be just to change the 3 or 4%.
right, that's what I'm thinking.
15% or 20%.
But can we write it as can we write it as this number will be determined case by case?
Get your ass to.
No, you can't be,
Can
No,
we
you
say
can't.
it's gonna be
No, it can't be
changed every
arbitrary.
6 months? Can we do anything with that number other than lock
Well,
it?
planning and zoning can change it anytime they want to, just doing a regular
yeah, you have to go through the
regulatory.
process, but we change what number? The 3 or
Say
4%?
just for simplicity, the 3 or 4%.
No, you could not change that without going through the whole
Okay.
regulation change. It has to be like we are applying rules and then we make people follow them.
Right.
So, so it has to be really clear.
Yeah,
'Cause they
otherwise it's
can't-
arbitrary and capricious.
And we
So,
take it to
yeah.
court and,
Right.
yeah, it's,
Okay.
So perhaps, I'm thinking, I like the idea of having one. I understood your justification of what you're saying and that it's flawed the way we're doing it.
And I'm only saying to suspend it until we reach
So,
the threshold for 80.
so how would we
Gee.
propose something
850.
like that, Jennifer, to the planning and zoning? We ask that they freeze it for a month
Well, I
so we can
wouldn't.
provide recommendations?
so so
Or like, how could we phrase it to give us a little time?
I have a
like- or like a
suggestion.
month.
Well, I have a suggestion if you want to think about it. Because it came up during the discussion that we recommend to them that they require developers to follow the 15% unless, according, they decide that it's not beneficial to the people who are going to be using the housing to have this, and that the fee in lieu would be more.
so,
And the second piece would be that they look at raising that fee in lieu of, to make it that it's, we think it's too low,
right,
without us having to tell them what to raise
Yeah.
it to.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna have to,
What you
something,
could
Chris.
do at this meeting is authorize someone to write a letter to the Planning and Zoning Commission to that effect.
I volunteer.
Okay, and it should, so basically it should be just a simple letter that you have a lot of special permits, you have a lot of applications coming up. They're gonna be required to meet the Article 10, Section W, and we strongly urge you to, if that's what you want, I don't wanna
To-
put words in your mouth, but
Well, we need
Could
to have
you
some
draft
language.
Something for us to look at on the.
I
20th?
would, yes,
When's the next, yeah, I could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
As
think,
long as
yes,
I
I don't
can
want
get-
letters
because then
that
we
we
can
don't look
discuss
at.
No, it should be
Okay.
a collective. I'll draft some language. We
Right.
can make,
Yeah.
So
make adjustments and.
The two main points of the letter are that we're strongly urging developers to build the units as
Right, to
opposed
apply the
to.
full 15%.
Right.
And you can, I mean, this,
And to look at
This
and
is
to look
very
at the
challenging.
fee in
And
terms
to
of
look at.
potentially, we think the fee may be too low and
Fee in
and this
lieu
fee in lieu should be raised.
versus a 40-year
Yes.
I'm
deed
happy to
restricted.
propose some language that will be short and to the point. And if they need backup information, I can supply them with that too.
And I would really, and I mean, I hope that's reflected in the minutes, I really want us to find out why we're using that Hartford meeting.
Yeah. I don't know who you talked to about that, Department of Housing.
No,
I have to figure out
why we do it.
why we.
But we're
wrote
in
that
the,
in-
we're in the council of governments with Hartford, but that doesn't seem to, I don't know why that would require us, unless the Department of Housing, other, the granting sources use that for us, if HUD uses that for us.
HUD
But it-
uses it for us, Talon County, where whenever we do CDBG, where we have to do like housing rehab. We have to do that HUD exchange calculation, which is through the Talon, we have to do the Talon.
Through
How-
Talon.
Through Metro,
It's the
Or Hartford.
Metro, it's the Hartford. That's
Okay.
that's the exchange that we have to use.
Yeah, they're not even the Collin County listing. When I was looking in the data.
Kylie found the Talon County, we did find the Talon
is Kylie
County.
there?
Kylie, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. It just, again, I'm in the student center, so I feel bad if I sit here on unmuted and you guys have to hear all the conversation.
Didn't you find didn't we find Talon County, AMI, average medium income?
Yes, and ours was, from my calculations, 10,000 above it. So that's why I haven't been using their data, because it would be completely skewed.
Where is the data coming from? Where was the Talon County data coming from?
I think it came from what I remember, the Department of Housing. So that's where I had that from.
I remember looking at the charts and I don't remember the source, but it was an official
Yeah.
source.
Should,
But let's find out rather than we spend a lot of time.
include the other proposal on density
Well,
bonus.
I'd like
in
to
the-
talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna
Right,
get to
right.
that. We're gonna get to that.
Okay,
Okay. But
but
let's,
shouldn't that be in the
let's-
same letter?
yes, okay, so we're gonna try to find out why we're doing that. Because I'm sorry they did away with the regional planning areas. I don't know if any of you remember that. But we were in a Wyndham region planning area that was the towns around us, which was what our housing market was. And there's also a Northeast Council of Governments, and we weren't merged with that, we were merged with Hartford. All right, so let's look at the. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, in this case, my concern is that the density bonus, the language in the zoning code. Doesn't require density bonus units. To meet any of the affordable housing percentage set aside. So that in the case of this, again, the standards, like what brought this to mind for me. They got 44 units of density, of additional density. By virtue of building structured parking and community amenities and different things. And the 44 units didn't include, were all market rate, so they were sort of a negative. They were, rather than have 10% of them be part of that equation and be 4 units of affordable. That was more like a -4 units on the rest of it total. So I'm not explaining myself.
No, it's like if you get, if you have 300 units and you get a density bonus of 50, then you should, your set aside should be 10% of that, if now it's 15, 35 units. Whereas I know what you mean.
The total,
Yeah, I don't
the
understand.
total number of units they build should have to meet the set aside.
Right, so
Right,
so there was a
with
certain,
the, including the
including the
density
density.
bonus, right?
so they got density, so the total affordable units that the standard has is 392 units. 35 of them will be built on site as affordable. And then they gave us the $1.7 million for the Affordable Housing Trust. I think what Paul is saying is that we should back it up. So it should somehow reflect the 392
Yeah,
units.
So the 15, so if it's not 15%, they would have to do whatever.
Whatever.
what I was
40.
proposing was that whatever bonus units they get, at least meet the 10% level. So we're not set back from our ultimate goal of marching toward a total 10% for the town.
So in the next one, we're coming in with 116 units. I don't know how they're calculating their density bonus, because I'm sure they're asking for
One
some.
other thing,
They
there
would
are
need
2
something
different
to go.
kinds of density bonuses. There are
Yes,
mandatory ones that are triggered if you build structured parking, and then there's discretionary ones that the board can elect to allow if they want. If you do some community amenities or there's some other things in there, I don't remember the details, but the point is, they have a certain amount of discretion, but not total discretion. There's ways that developers can get the density bonuses without the board having a say in it.
Do they? What was the housing trust fund that what was the amount that they had to pay that 1.7? What was it based on?
it was based on, there was a whole calculation, and I sent that out to some
Yeah.
development impact statement, and they basically look at the unit type, they look at how many density bonuses, how many units they're getting, and then they came up with a
Square footage,
multiplier.
all kinds of weird
Yeah,
square footage.
multiplier of like 2.6 of the total 392, and then they tie to the building code.
You
It's,
need a master's degree in mathematics to follow.
yeah,
So just to say, I mean, if the zoning code says the density bonus is intended to incentivize the development of low income workforce housing, that's totally misleading. These are not low income units. By any shape,
That's correct.
form. These are high, moderate income units or middle income units, really, in terms of when you look at the rents.
Right.
The low income would be for people at that 30% or below 50%, if you want to say. So it isn't that at all. So that should be changed. Because the density bonus program, I don't understand. I don't even understand what that means. Incentivize the development of, unless they mean for.
Well, we don't tell them what type of affordable housing to have,
Well, they're, you know,
right? Like, we don't tell them what income level they, or if
80, it
it's
has to be 80,
Yeah,
80 or 80 or less. but they're not
But
gonna,
we don't say like seniors or.
no.
No.
Isn't there a mix of types though, like three
There-
bedrooms, two bedrooms?
There has to, yeah, I
Or
think,
something
I
like
think
that.
the unit, I think it has to reflect the unit mix on site.
Yes,
So it just has to be 80%. So what
Right,
your
that's a-
concern is that it wouldn't.
it's not low income.
No,
They're
That's
never
what they're
gonna do
saying.
60 or
No,
30.
no, they're never gonna do that because they won't want those low rents.
But if all these units come into town, they're gonna have an effect on the market in general. I mean, there's gonna be. With another 1,000 units out there, the whole. The lower rent places are likely to become more available to people who really need them.
It'll be naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Um,
Not that that's a
so
huge help, but-
what,
Well,
Would it be
not
illegal
being
to
very
say
well-maintained.
like that you have to, there has to be a percentage at each percentage, right? Or like certain number at each percentage, like,
No, you could
of your
say, as long as
15.
it's clear, you
Long
could say of your 15, you
right?
could have
Like if you get
X percent
15
is,
is 80, X percent is 60, X percent is 30.
Yeah, well, those are the work.
well, they'll never
units
do
that-
30,
that
and
are-
whenever, nobody of the market, you'll have, total, you have a lot of, I mean, I don't see anybody passing anything at 30, but it would be interesting if we could even suggest that a certain number have to be at 60% of the median.
That would be interesting. Because it-
Because of
Very
the-
interesting, because they're gonna go.
Half
Or
your
they,
rent.
or they pay even a higher, if they're not gonna do that, then setting the fee in lieu of even higher,
Right,
if they don't do the mix.
that's why I think.
What about that? That's a
Formula
thought.
needs to be revisited.
That's gonna require a lot of research and then.
Another workshop.
Yeah, this I don't,
and more than
so,
that.
and here's the deal. I think your role, because you're not a zoning
No.
expert, you're
right,
not, I mean, so is to just persistently encourage.
Yeah,
And provide examples from other communities that then the Planning and Zoning Commission will work with our attorney and our zoning consultants to figure out the best way forward. But I don't know that, I mean, if you do come up with a great reg, but I'll tell you, we're one of the few in Connecticut. People are wondering how the heck we even got to where we're at.
Right.
So,
because the housing they're building aimed at, several students in one apartment or 3 students, however they're doing it, is very profitable.
it's profitable,
And
but
that's
most,
why
but most towns
people
do
are-
not want any affordable housing. It's like a bad
No,
Right.
well, no,
word.
but there's been tremendous work here, hasn't there?
Right, so,
Uh,
they wonder how you have the political will to get something like this passed.
Because it's a very, well, it's
Well,
a very liberal town. I mean, it's.
it will, right, and
Right.
that people are
Believes
amazed
in
by it.
equity.
Either
and-
that or they really just want to
But
stop
it's-
student housing. So they're like,
Well,
oh,
there's-
this
there
will.
is some
right,
of that.
that's-
I mean,
that's
if-
No, there is.
wonderful.
But this, I think if there's a market here and people are gonna come and try to
Yes.
meet the market. But if they're gonna, that's gonna happen and we approve some of this, then we gotta make them pay to help us meet the other
The
market.
numbers, yeah,
Because
because no
So-
developer is gonna build 30% house. Government's gonna wind up building
yeah,
housing for 30% type people. And that's just the reality of it, I think.
So the action though is that the density bonus thing is also recommended to CCC. In the same letter.
Yeah.
well, I don't
Yeah.
know what we
Do
would
we have a
recommend.
list
I
of
don't
Well,
know.
that
Why can't we
happens
just hold them
with
at 10% minimum that the state
that
requires
we
for
can
any,
do to-
any project?
Well, no, we have 15.
We have 15 for everything,
Right.
I'm
but if
sure.
they're gonna get, let's say,
Yeah.
50 more units
Yeah.
because of density bonuses. If they don't give us any back, then that's a subtraction from our total. But if they give us 10% of what they're gonna build, at least we're holding fast to
But
our.
you don't have to recommend a number. You can just say the way it's written, the current one does not include.
Yeah.
Affordable housing
Right.
in the density
I was
bonus.
sort of
We
trying-
recommend that you reconsider this,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I would say
So
recommend that the
we
current,
maintain some sort of,
I'd recommend that the current limit be applied, and if that is not going to happen, that their fee in lieu of, we consider to have a larger fee in lieu of, for the density
Yeah.
bonus.
Yeah.
right.
The problem,
right.
the only problem I see with that is it coming up with this new complex fee in lieu of in a timely way before all these applications hit the fan and get locked into the existing rules. See, my big fear is if we don't do something quickly, then we're gonna have
Everything's locked in.
1,000 units of locked into the
Yeah.
existing structure. We're not gonna get the benefit of any of this.
Right,
And the, you know, except for the 10% or the 15%, which is not nothing, of course, but.
It just slows it.
It- yeah.
Why don't you, we can put into the letter. And we'll all look at this, but we can put into the letter that we strongly recommend that the fee in lieu of be raised, especially in regard to density bonuses.
For everything.
right,
actually.
right.
Yeah, for everything, yeah.
Well, and Paul, like, I just, or everyone, on the OPM website, Jennifer just found that they do have the affordable housing plan by town, so we could actually then look and see how others have done that.
But that's not the zoning, that's just
That's
the
just the
plan.
plan.
That's just.
But we
Yeah.
might see how they try to have a plan, right? You don't think we would find that
You,
information?
you might
there?
find something, but you're not gonna find the reg.
Ah,
And when I did a little bit of research I did on the fee and lieu situation, there's only a couple of scholarly articles out there about the whole thing. It's really
Yeah.
kind of a new.
And
frontier.
Kylie we had really exhaustively looked at towns throughout Connecticut. There's almost no one that's doing.
Yeah,
mm,
and we're in this
housing
unique
trust fund.
situation.
Just
We have-
Fairfield
then we have
and we're
developers
the
coming.
most.
I found a lot of
And
towns.
Greenwich is taking donations. I mean,
That's right.
They
Yeah.
can double up.
Quickly.
The New
Okay,
Jersey people to buy, take the rental apartments.
uh,
It's a unique situation.
all right,
We still-
can we move on? So the, I thought they were your notes, whoever's notes they were, Paul or Michael's notes on the Center for Housing Equity and Opportunity. It's very interesting and I guess Mansfield, the town was actually officially asked to participate and has not officially. Maybe you were sent that, I guess, but
Yes, and then so,
Paul and Michael both went to the meeting.
right.
So maybe they can talk about it, but I wonder if we shouldn't ask
So
the
were
council to
there
have an
staff
official.
there? Generally, or was it?
There was.
There are a lot of different organizations.
But like, were there other planners there or? was it
No,
more
not too
like
many. No, it was
mayors?
mostly, there was 2 mayors, I think,
Yeah,
these 2 mayors.
it was quite a crew. I mean, there were people from banks, there were
Yeah.
They had
a lot of
There's Murphy Center,
nonprofits.
Dick Blumenthal Center.
Here's a-
person.
Yeah,
Here, we'll give it to Gina. I just printed out 2 of them, that just for
I think-
information.
you know, the biggest thing I walked out of there with was they're trying to unify affordable housing stuff for the whole East Connecticut, the region. So it's a huge job.
Well, I think
just
they're
seeing
trying
how
to raise
many-
awareness too. This is a real big,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see it as a huge job, but I think, you know, they'd like to see affordable housing policies be unified for the whole east part of the state.
and
Right.
they should
Pretty
expand enough
ambitious.
awareness too, so that other towns start taking action. Because I think they started on this, looking at the New London housing issues. And then decided to expand it. They've got every foundation in eastern Connecticut, they're supporting it. You look at the end of
Just
that
about, yeah.
article.
It's-
So I don't mean that in a negative way that they're gonna, you
can
know,
keep it
force
if you want.
things upon us, but I think
I guess you
we
should have
should
Dorothy,
try
just the
to
information.
interact with them so that we are receiving from them and we're inputting to them.
We actually, you observe that we're more progressive than most places. We could, I suppose, with a lot of effort, take provide some leadership in this area, because there are a lot of towns, like, you know, Chaplin in Scotland, they don't have anything. They got no infrastructure on which to build.
They don't want
Yeah,
anything.
so-
And that's another frontier, the whole, you know, if we're gonna encourage infrastructure investments, it's gonna have to come from a bigger group than just one town.
Right, I'm with Gina though, in terms of my energy.
Right,
It's what-
right.
What can I most impact? And it's
Yeah,
here, and it's not that I've been involved in a lot of these regional things. And we, when everybody was doing the affordable plans, we had folks again, involved with the interfaith group who were working on the affordable housing plans in their towns. And their experiences were a heck of a lot different than.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Than
interesting because some
our-
of those towns like Chaplin actually do have affordable housing because they actually have their little small like motel unit, right? Where
What that is?
like
Right.
the single occupancy,
106
which
there.
we don't even have, like no other town has. So they're like one of the few.
I'm sorry,
That's
so
how
I
we
started
know.
to use Chaplin as an
I
example.
know. Exactly.
Are they deed restricted?
No, they deed restricted, but they meet the needs.
So that was one of my concerns is
Yeah.
we're a small committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of bandwidth to give. to
But if the
this
town, I don't want to add
effort.
something to your,
And
but
it's-
I think even if the town officially got on their mailing list and was receiving information, I mean, I don't want to ask the
So-
council to appoint somebody,
Are they gonna have ongoing meetings? That's-
Yeah.
because I don't want them appointing you.
Yeah,
because-
They're gonna do it around Eastern Connecticut. They said they would love to come here. So I connected you with.
I talked to Susan Hunter, who's on
That
the,
was.
she's on the Wyndham Town Council.
But that wasn't the
But,
actual
no.
CHIO group.
No, she's just
No, the woman who's
Barbara McGrath, and if you know her,
CEO or the director of this TO group
very
is the
involved.
former mayor of, what,
Yeah.
Waterford in London, something like that.
Water-
She's on the town council down there. So she's a real power, a real go-getter. She really has it.
Perhaps we
But
just.
so
have
they
that
created 4 working groups and they asking for volunteers to be on the working group, so.
So you both signed up.
No. we
No.
didn't.
Oh.
All four. We didn't volunteer for anything without permission.
Well, I wonder, I mean, I think that would be great if you have. the
And you
capacity, right?
certainly, yeah, I mean,
And report back to here.
You can
like-
Well,
As
that's, yeah, we should have a
individuals.
liaison, appoint a
You can
liaison.
participate as individuals. We
Right.
can't appoint you officially.
I mean, I think I'd need to understand, we could ask the council to appoint one of you as the official town liaison perhaps, but I think we'd
But
want to make
These
sure.
are,
Well,
they're meeting 4 separate times. I mean, they're 4
Four
different
different
groups.
committees.
and It's 4 meetings.
Four
I
meetings,
wouldn't go to every meeting.
You just go to your work.
you go to the
right?
Eastern
one that you
Connecticut
want.
one?
I forget what the breakdown was, but one of them.
No, that group's gonna meet also, but so you have
there are 4 working committees.
Yeah,
that spun off of the main meeting.
yeah, going to
What
the
day-
main meetings is not hard.
Why don't I talk further with whoever the head of this is?
It's Beth something, or other.
Beth.
Her name is in the memo.
Oh, at the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's got an email address to it.
I like the idea of having some, like,
Isn't that
asking the
something?
council to
I'd like to
appoint
think of that
someone
over
from
now.
our committee to.
So the other thing to note is, that Chris Murphy's office is gonna have a town meeting on Affordable House.
I have Murphy's
And
person's business card. She wanted to know, she just wanted a contact person so that when Chris Murphy holds this info session or whatever it's gonna be, that we can be aware of it and or part of it.
So, did you,
I replied to her, I gave her my email and Sheila's.
okay, and you want me to reach out to her to?
I mean, you'll just get an email
Yes.
that'll say
Probably
that
wouldn't hurt.
town hall meeting is such and such a date.
yeah, they probably want
That's
to have
all it
it.
is.
Yeah.
It's just a
Right.
That's the
mailing
kind of thing
list.
that if we know when it's
Did
coming.
you reply?
I did not.
You know why this, something like this is very helpful for the Mansfield nonprofit? You know, it shocked me. They're all, both congressmen and, or congresspeople and senators, they have their separate set aside. I mean, they could do earmarking again, which in the budget, and they put in what they want and they get it approved, and then usually a year later they get it. So I said, let's push, because Joe Courtney, you know, I know him, and let's contact him. And they put them in for 500,000 and they got it.
Yeah, Senator Blumenthal gave money to
And
the
Murphy-
trees.
And they can give even more money. That's right. They gave quite a
So-
bit
He
to
gave
the
quite a bit
phrase.
to the building.
Wow, so you did that on part of as part of when you were on the.
Yes,
nonprofit group.
yes. So this is, frankly, this is very interesting, because one of the few towns in Connecticut with the Housing Trust Fund, we talked to Murphy and we are very specific that we say, we really do want to fund this trust. This is, do you all see this? This is what
Yeah.
Will researched. we want to fund, we really need to fund this housing trust fund because, and we can give them very specific examples about. And as I said, I'm very concerned about the fact that there's just hardly any funding for elderly housing. There isn't any at the state level. There's nothing earmarked anymore at the state level, except for rental supplements, but there's no grant or loan money. There is federal money, but anyhow, that's another discussion about our.
What if we asked if we could host his speaking channel,
Yeah, I mean,
and then we asked the city. council-
Courtney got money, gave us money for,
Right.
the Eagleville Green.
Right.
Courtney there was a whole bunch of people, I think Courtney might have been involved with the money to do all the pedestrian improvements that when we got that $4.7 million.
No, that was a whole separate one, right?
Yeah, that was a separate one. And so they love the press, so.
Right.
let's capitalize on
It
it.
might be a
So
really
have
nice
you,
way to highlight our
Has
committee.
Mansfield looked at, it's the Connecticut Investment Fund? That seems to be where the affordable housing funding is coming from the state. So
You're like a CHFA, you're talking about Connecticut Housing Finance Authority?
No,
So there was an article about affordable housing, I forget what town, but Blumenthal, and we were
The
sharing it.
Community
It said-
Investment Fund, that's,
No, it's the Connecticut Investment.
oh, really?
That's what they said, the fund came.
Well, this new state budget's gonna have money all over the place for housing.
But I think it's
I
open.
believe it's coming from the federal government to end homelessness, and it's being funneled to our Department of Housing.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Have we approached, has anyone that we know of approached the Department of Housing recently or the governor's office directly and said, look, we want to build affordable housing. Where's the money? How can we get the money?
I've approached the Department of Housing and talked about it. That
Uh,
most of the money comes through Department of Housing, CHFA, or through tax credits.
okay.
And as Rebecca told us, it's very
This sounds-
complicated.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
Are there any grants?
but
that
we haven't set our
So they-
priorities.
I
No,
think they
no,
had a
there aren't any
different name
grants.
for it in the link.
We have to have very
Oh.
specific project,
Their
very
names, but
specific
this is the
need,
correct
that
one.
for which they have very
And I
specific
typed
money.
that, that's the
That's-
first
yeah.
thing.
I
You
don't,
looked at it?
I don't know if
Yes,
you,
yes.
I really, this was really good. What, do you want to just talk about this was in Minnesota?
I just went to it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just went down and I was searching for how to fund it, and I came up with this and I said, well, this would be a good thing to bring up to
Can
us.
I have one of those?
Right. Yeah, I think you got one, but here,
Did I?
I have lots of them.
It's,
So,
they came up with a whole bunch of different ways on how to fund the local hospital, our fund.
and I'd add earmarks to that. Earmarks are from, our US senators, or congressperson.
And or the governor, because I think he's talking a good game about spending all kinds of money for affordable housing because he.
Well, he doesn't do earmarks,
No, he doesn't, but he has money.
but he's not gonna give us a special grant.
We won't know unless we ask.
Well, first we
Well-
need to have priorities.
Well, you.
So we even know what to ask for.
True.
So I think,
It's
so-
nice, but how about, for instance, infrastructure? There's a limit to how much you can build until you have the infrastructure to build it. And that to me is like an open field. It seems to me there ought to be money, state money, looking for places to build infrastructure.
What do you mean? You mean sewer, water?
Sewer and water, because you
Yeah.
can't have decent density without those things.
Well, there
That's what
is
we're
money,
supposed-
and we did get money. For the whole Four Corners development, but
Yeah,
so anyhow, I think I'll contact Murphy's person.
Yeah.
Just
That's
to,
why I put this.
I think I know her.
Oh,
Um,
So we have priorities that were, thank you for reminding me. And actually, that's why
in the plan,
in our plan.
right,
Yeah.
What I wanted, and I don't know if we have the ability to do this, but there's a lot of language in that plan that's a little bit all over the place. Can we first, as a group, look at it, like we say things like to stop student housing or,
yeah.
right? And then we talked about changing the word from senior housing to
age related.
Age restricted.
age, right? So like, could we?
Oh, age restricted.
Age restricted.
Oh, restricted,
Right,
not
yes, it
related.
doesn't want to say senior, right? Which is, I
I don't
actually,
want to say senior house.
yeah, and I think that's a good idea. So like, it might help us to look at that and then perhaps.
So, but the fund, so you have, right, on action 2.3, you have prioritized housing trust fund expenditures. And it's
Right.
just one page.
Yeah.
Isn't that sort of something that you want to,
Well, we started doing this by looking we still don't have all the data I think we need. We got data, which I presented to you from the Housing Authority and from
could-
about all the waiting lists. We had data that Kylie put together that showed the people who had were more in the lower income, the clusters of people in the under the median income were those were the families,
Right.
what was it, the 25 to 44, I'd have to look back, and it was older people who also were in those categories. So we can look at where is need. We haven't yet done anything with our own social service department
What if we
in terms
perhaps,
of getting data.
just to kind of take what you're saying and operationalize it a little bit? Because there are several different bullets. I wonder if we could almost like have little working groups. I know there's not many of us, but right, like I looked at the middle housing and I was like, oh, there's so much that we could do in here, right? Like after reading the AARP, and there's one of the
what could
priorities.
we, because
Well, it's
I-
on the plan.
yeah, I tell people all the time, this is the kind of housing that we want in Mansfield.
Yeah.
People, there's a demand for every single time. I have bookmarks of pictures, I have
Yeah.
site plan examples. There is we need to recruit a developer
Who
will
would do
build
it, which is
build
the
it.
number one thing. they
Yeah.
But
say
don't we
is
have to
the
make
hardware.
fertile ground for it to be built? I mean, if we're talking about, for instance, a small lot,
Okay.
single family development,
understand.
Yeah.
something like that. You
Well,
need a
and they
place.
Okay, so guys,
Yeah, and they make recommendations on that, right?
Yeah.
Like on how to kind of structure your town to
Can I-
help support it, which
Yeah.
is.
make a suggestion. We're going to have a special work session on that application, right? And I think we need a special work session or one of our meetings almost completely devoted to priorities. And what we want to prioritize, because we can make recommendations to council beyond the Housing Trust Fund. And to planning and zoning. But what do we want to prioritize and why do we want to prioritize it? So we can look
That's
at
great.
the affordable housing plan. We can
And
look at the
for each
data
bullet. Yeah,
and let's,
I agree.
so a step at a time.
I don't think we
I
need
love you.
to
I love the
prioritize
energy.
for
Anything.
the application. The application can say examples include, and we list those things.
Well, you might, what if you
Right.
got
As
10
they-
applications all over the
And
place?
we review them and prioritize them as part of the review process.
But
Not-
you have to have a process for, you really, if we're gonna give them money, you gotta have a process for prioritizing.
Right,
Some
right, but it
criteria.
doesn't have to be
Criteria,
in
right.
the
Like
application.
if you know that no one's gonna build 30%, I would say that gets really high, or age, what's the word?
Restricted.
Age restricted, but like that we then can grade that.
Well,
I don't think we should have the priority spelled out in the application.
Well,
Because then-
well, except-
It
well-
should be like an appendix. that
well, let's,
says, like,
we
this
will
is
talk
what
about that.
No, I think
Because-
it's just list examples that are not prioritized.
Figure it out.
That way.
Well, no, I think you've gotta, you gotta,
Just to know
Step at a
everything
time.
you know About the
Are
application.
you setting a date for this other work?
we already said
20th.
April 20th, but not for the
5 o'clock.
priorities. We haven't
Not
done
for
that
the
yet. We'll
priorities.
have to,
Right, right.
it will be
So for that meeting, there's two things you're looking at. You're doing a work, because it's a special meeting, so you'll only be able to
I'll
discuss.
do.
So the two items are that letter that you're gonna
All
be
of it.
doing.
My letter, which will.
well, his
address-
letter can go to our next regular meeting.
Well, because that just delays it more.
Okay, all right, we don't
Right,
have
it's
to,
gotta
okay,
go
we can
right
do
to
it there,
the-
okay.
Time is of the essence in this
Yeah,
case.
so your two
Okay.
things are gonna go into that.
So we're gonna mark up this thing,
Yep,
and I'm gonna write my language for this recommendation that we're gonna make to the PCC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll review that, and then we're gonna work on the
Application.
application.
and in the meantime, someone could really try to synthesize and figure out how to come up with priorities and bring it to the next meeting. It doesn't have to be like, just like how you. Some of you folks are smart to know how to like operate, as you just said,
Yeah.
operationalize
Yeah,
these
it's just something
priorities,
They
right?
do a lot at the university.
Right,
I,
so let's.
I
put it
kind
to
of,
that.
I kind of had done that, but I can look at it again.
Um. And then you're gonna do communications for me.
Yeah, you're gonna write
You're gonna
something
do the
for
first
her,
one.
for the most.
That's
immediate-
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a brief summary.
Yeah,
Once I can't,
yeah.
I've got to do this. All right,
So
let me,
Can I just say one thing too? Because
sure.
you're missing the June meeting. Is that the meeting you're missing?
Yes, you're leaving.
May.
You're missing the May meeting?
No, the May meeting is early. I think it's before
Yeah,
you-
I think you're actually here for the May and you're missing the June.
May 4th, I thought. you
No,
said
May
you
4th,
thought-
I'm gone.
Oh, you are
I'm on a
gone.
high oak, I'm on a high. speed.
Oh, all right,
May
all right.
4th.
I will
I'm
be
sorry.
missing the
You
June.
don't have internet there?
Huh?
You zoom in.
Yeah, I mean, you just log right in. We'll see you on the ship.
Ship has some sort of-
I will
I'm
be
still
thinking
here
of
on
you.
Wednesday.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait,
I'm
just,
sorry.
Oh,
was there no other business? Okay,
Okay,
motion to
sorry.
adjourn, Paul.
a second, I'm.
Second.
Okay, Michael seconded, all in favor?
I'm
Woo, you guys are full of energy.
gonna go write some.
When is that meeting? When's the next?
April 20th. We're gonna have a special meeting, 5 o'clock. And Dorothy will let us know where.
Okay.
I'll write that little summary, but between, after that, I'm unavailable.
You're
So
passive
after
brain
April 11th.
up
Yes.
the wazoo.
Enjoy the holiday with your fans.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And I'm running a theater for 50 people or 10,
Whoa.
so
No way, that's a lot.
that's,
That's